Good morning, everyone, or good evening, depending on where you are in the world. It's a pleasure to be here today with Octagona India, and I'm excited to share some insights with you all. My name is Federica Chiarello. I'm the CEO of Bonfiglioli Consulting USA, and we'll be diving into the BIS certification. And we all hope that by the end of our time together, you'll walk away with tools to enter the Indian market. Before we dive in, just a quick reminder, feel free to drop your questions in the chat throughout the presentation, and we'll leave some time at the end to discuss them. I'll just do a brief introduction about the group and who we are, and then I leave our colleagues from India to speak about the certification. Bonfiglioli Consulting is a group that was born more than 50 years ago in Italy. And at the beginning, it was like a strategic and operational consulting group. Around 20 years ago, they met with Octagona, that is the other brand that you see in our head. And Octagona was born in India, helping Italian company expanding in that market. In 20 years, as you see, we spread out our presence throughout the world, and we ended up being also in the US with 2 offices, one in New York, where I am right now, and that's why I said morning. And the other one is in Florida, close to Orlando, where we also have a small logistics. As you can see, we have some data here. We have 12 offices in Europe, US, and Asia. More than 100 active consultants around the world, and we have been working on 15,000 successful cases. Vishnu, you can change slide. Thank you. Those are our milestones. Briefly, we were born in 1973. Octagona India was established in 2007. We, Bonfiglioli Consulting USA, were established in 2018, even if the operation actually started a little bit before that. And in 2023, everything got formal because Bonfiglioli Consulting acquired Octagona. So Octagona became formally part of the group. And a couple of years ago, I talked with Vishnu, that is the head of Octagona India, and we decided that it made sense to straighten the operation between US and Indian market because of the political, economical situation of India and US. And it made sense to create a task force that, so a team that will, with the focus of, having those 2 markets talk and being able to help US company expanding the Indian market and the Indian company expanding the US market. Since we have been here for years helping the expansion, it made no sense to have a direct connection between the 2 countries. And this is why we have now a team that is focused on that and a lot of professionals that work with us, helping US company expand in India and Indian company expand in the US market. I think now, Vishnu, is your turn, and you can introduce a little bit maybe Octagona India, who we are there, and then we can go deeply into the BIS certification.
Thank you, Federica, for the introduction. I'll take over from here. As you can see on your screen, my name is Vishnu Krishna. I am the COO, CEO, director, call it what you want, of Octagona India. We are a 22-year-old company in India, out of which more than half the time I've been with the organization. As a company, we call ourselves market entry and expansion consultants. And one of the services that we provide is looking after special registrations on behalf of our clients. And today that special registration happens to be the BIS certification. Before we deep dive into the nitty-gritty of what the registration or the certification entails, let me give you a little bit of a 35,000 feet overview of this certification. And where does this beast BIS come from? BIS is probably a 40-year-old organization that came under the Ministry of Consumer Affairs, Food and Public Distribution in India, created largely for developing uniform national standards for variety of different products, implementing those standards, certifying products and quality control systems of manufacturing companies, and making sure that the right quality reaches the consumer along with the safety standards that are expected from such products. Now, BIS happens to be the apex body in India, the topmost certifying agency, and there is no one above BIS, which means that if you don't like what BIS is asking you to do, you have no other recourse but to follow their quality and safety standards as applicable to your products. Today, it has standards for more than 24,000 products in India, more than 24,000 certification standards, and many quality control orders, which I'll talk about in the subsequent slide. But why are we interested in BIS certification? What happens? What benefits do you get if you get certified under BIS? Well, firstly, you have the legal and the rightful access to the Indian market. Now, many of you in the audience are companies outside India, and I suspect you are in this webinar because you have an interest to sell in India. And maybe you've been knocked on your door directly or indirectly by this certification, BIS. If you achieve the certification, not only you can sell legally, but also rightfully because you have complied with the highest standard authority in the market. This also helps you to avoid any penalties or chances of recall because you are following the Indian standard. You have a greater credibility with the buyers. Later on in the presentation, we'll see that once you are certified, you can carry a logo on your product, a marking on your product, which gives the consumer the added credibility for you to buy so that they can go ahead and purchase your products with a peace of mind. Most of the BIS standards are in synchronization with other standards like Japanese, European, American, and so on. So which means that you are already selling a product that is approved not only in India later, but also around the world. This will also help you to facilitate easier exports into India. That's why the part of the title of this webinar is Breaking the Entry Barrier into India. And last and not the least, this for local manufacturers amongst you who are manufacturing on the Indian soil, this also helps to support the Indian government's PET program, which is Make in India or Self-Reliant India. So for local economic development. So these are the variety of different reasons. But the biggest reason is you cannot escape this standard. You have to comply if you need to continuously sell in the market. Next slide, please. Now, I talked about QCO a short while back. Let me just tell you what QCO is for the next few minutes, because it's important to understand where do these standards come from. Quality control orders are the legal government documents that enforce quality standards for a particular category or group of products. These are produced by the ministries concerning those products. For example, if it's a machinery, it comes under Ministry of Heavy Industries. If it's an agricultural tool or implement, it might come under Ministry of Agriculture and so on. So these ministries, which are often called line ministries, and the departments under these ministries issue these quality control orders from time to time, and they collect feedback from various industry associations existing in India. So this is the birth of the Indian standards through quality control orders. At the present moment, the Indian government has issued 187 quality control orders, out of which roughly one fourth have come in only in the last 3 years. mainly after COVID. And they cover 769 product categories across many sectors. Most of them, chances are that your product is covered under one of them, such as consumer goods, electrical, household appliances, chemicals, construction, footwear, textiles, and what have you. These, mind you, these 769 product categories, when you expand the list, this can go easily into thousands of discrete individual products. Noting that India is a heavy purchaser of machinery products, I would also like to mention that 20 categories are specifically concerning machinery and electrical equipment, because India imports a lot of these products such as pumps, compressors, valves, transformers, and so on and so forth. This means that the Indian government wants to control the quality and safety for these product categories very closely. Now, when the quality control order comes into effect, it becomes the law. And therefore, under this law, it is prohibited to manufacture or even import into India without a valid BIS license. I have to admit that BIS has been caught sleeping on the job for some time now, because some of these quality controls orders were in place even before COVID, but there was no restriction placed on either manufacture or import of some of these products under the quality control orders. But now the situation has changed 180 degrees, and it's almost virtually impossible to import something without a valid BIS license. Yes, there are a few deadlines on the horizon. So until the deadlines have been reached, you can still sell into India, but no longer after the deadline. And we'll talk about it in one of the subsequent slides. As I mentioned in the last slide, that it's virtually impossible to bypass these BIS provisions. And so failure to comply with these provisions might result in seizure of your goods at the customs point of import. That means the customs will not clear your goods, and they will probably destroy it or ask you to re-export. That is, send it back to the home country or any other country. There will be fines and penalties imposed on the importer under the BIS Act. And this will often lead to delays in completion of projects. So if your component was going to be used in a, let's say, infrastructure project of national importance, and because the machine did not arrive in time due to delays in BIS, therefore the entire project cycle gets delayed. So there are far-reaching consequences if you are not able to get certified in time. So all roads are leading to Rome, which means that if you are manufacturing and supplying a product to India which needs to get certified, it's time to take action now. Next slide, please. Now let's talk about what are the various certification schemes, and one of my colleagues will take a deep dive into it soon. Now under BIS, since we already discussed that there are hundreds and hundreds of products of different variety, different nature, different functionalities, and so on. So all certification for these types of products do not follow the same pattern. And therefore, there are 3 or 4 different unique type of certification schemes. I'll go through it in very quickly, and you are free to text your questions in the text box, and we'll attempt to answer all that before the session is over. The most common scheme, or the oldest scheme, is the ISI scheme. And audience who come from an Indian background, you would remember this abbreviation ISI. You see it on various household appliances such as your water heaters, on two-wheeler helmets, and so on. This has been there, I think, from from mid-80s when the BIS authority came up first time. So this is the oldest scheme. And then we have the scheme 2, which is the compulsory registration scheme, or CRS. This applies mainly to electronic and electrical products, mainly electronic and IT products, I'm sorry. So if you take a look at your mobile phone. On the back, there will be a label, and this particular logo of a symbol of 8 that you see on the screen would be visible to you, along with the Indian standard number and an alphanumeric code under the logo. Same thing you can check on your Bluetooth devices and so on. My laptop charger has the same symbol, and which means that these have all been certified under the relevant scheme. And this particular scheme is called Scheme 2 or the CRS scheme. Then we have Scheme 4, which is called the Certificate of Conformity. We'll discuss that briefly later. And finally, the latest scheme, which is called Scheme X, whose deadline is yet to be reached. It's on 1st September 2026, but it has already been postponed by 1 year. It was supposed to be end of August this year and was postponed due to industry demand and companies getting ready to get licensed under this scheme. This Scheme X is also called as OTR, Omnibus Technical Regulation. Finally, for foreign manufacturers such as yourselves, you have a special categorization called FMCS, Foreign Manufacturer Certification Scheme. This applies to those companies that are manufacturing at a site outside India and then sending it to India. So we'll talk about that in the coming slides. So chances are that your product will fall under one of these schemes, and by the end of this session, you'll come to know which scheme applies to you more or less and how to go about it. I should also tell you that the list of BIS certified products is constantly expanding. Every month, there are new quality control orders. For example, furniture items were included a couple of months ago. And so at this moment, the BIS authority is on an expansion spree, and which means that even if you're not under certification today, you need to still keep a close eye in the months to come. So let's go to the next slide, please. Just to take a very quick look under what kind of products come under the traditional ISI certification and which are under the CRS. We've given a non-exhaustive product categories list under each of these certifications. So just to run through very quickly, all the hard items like iron, steel, automotive products, medical equipment, toys, even footwear, kitchen appliances, refrigerators or microwaves, aluminum related products, products made out of aluminum or alloys of aluminum, electrical items are all under the traditional ISI certification, which has a sub-branch called FMCS, Foreign Manufacturer Certification Scheme. So let's say if your product is falling under this, and there are many more as well, you would be required to follow the procedure for getting certified under ISI. On the other hand, if you are a manufacturer of electronics products or IT-related products, such as the examples I cited just before, cameras, photovoltaic systems, and so on, LED lights, you would be required to be certified under CRS. I'm sure most of you are wondering, what is the main difference? What do I have to do? Well, the main difference is this, that under ISI certification scheme, there is a factory audit of your manufacturing facility outside India. I'm speaking from, I'm appealing to the audience which has joined from outside India. Or even if you're manufacturing in India, some BIS officer is going to visit your facility with the certification, the relevant Indian standard in hand, and going to check your manufacturing and your quality control processes. This is under the ISI certification. However, under the CRS certification, it is a self-testing, self-test report, which has to be uploaded on the relevant site of BIS portal. After creating a login, you pay the fees for 1 year, and then the BIS authorities on the back end will check your test report, and if they find it suitable, they give you the license. There is no factory audit for CRS type of certification. This is the major difference. And therefore, The ISI certification takes a long time. Why? Because BIS does not have 100,000 people working for them. They have limited people, out of which few are specialists in, let's say, polymer or textiles. Some are specializing in chemicals, some in other kinds of products. And they are receiving requests every single day from not only from domestic manufacturers, but also from foreign manufacturers through official applications. And so they have to decide who will go where to audit which factory and in how much time. So the waiting period, as we will tell you again later in the presentation, could be anything between 6 to 8 months, maybe even more. However, for CRS, the waiting period is much lower because it is self-tested, self-certified, and you only have to upload your test reports on the BIS portal and pay the fees as relevant to your product. So naturally, the waiting period is much lesser over there. These are the two main differences. Let's go to the next slide, Anshul. Okay, from here, I would like my colleague to take over, and then I'll come back for the last few slides. Just a brief introduction. My colleague, Anshul Sharma, who you see on your screen, leads our BIS practice. We will also talk about what kind of BIS capabilities we have, and the projects that we have done. But Anshul leads a team of a few colleagues who are all specialized in BIS investigation and helping our clients step by step in the certification process. So with a very brief introduction, Anshul, I ask you to please take over from here and for the next few slides. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you very much, Vishnu. Good morning to one and all. As Vishnu has already made my introduction, I lead the BIS practice, and today I'm going to cover Scheme X certification. This is a new scheme which has joined the list of existing schemes like the Scheme 1 and Scheme 2. And this is applicable mainly to the machinery. So about this scheme, I would say that this scheme provides flexibility to the manufacturers to choose between two options. One is the license and other is the certificate of conformity. Now, license is meant for somebody who engages in continuous production, meaning if you are a manufacturer and if you're producing on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, or on a monthly basis, then you must opt for a license. Whereas if you engage in batch production, so meaning if you are producing the entire quantity in one go and then shipping it over the next few months or years to India, then you must opt for a certificate of conformity. So the selection basically depends on your production style. There is a difference between these two options. The license has a validity, whereas the certificate of conformity, because it is meant for a particular batch only, it does not have a validity. The license has a validity of 3 to 6 years. I mean, if you would like, you can request the BIS to give you a license for 6 years, but eventually it is up to the BIS whether to approve your request or not. Whereas, as I already mentioned, certificate of conformity does not have a validity. So once you exhaust your batch, once you have shipped everything to India and you have received a new order, let's say, and you're ready to produce a new batch, you'll have to reapply for the certification. And then you can, once you have the certificate, you can send that batch to India. So that's how it works. Some of the product categories that are covered under this particular scheme are packaging machinery, gearboxes, pumps and compressors, all kinds of heavy machinery, including the construction, machine tools for stone cutting, ceramics, transformers, textile machinery, machinery for rubber and plastics, cranes, and there are a few more categories that are covered. In total, there are 20 categories which are covered by this particular scheme as of now. And as Vishnu already stated, this list is being constantly expanded. So this order came in August of 2024, and the deadline for compliance, previous deadline for compliance was 28th of August 2025. But through an amendment in June, the BIS deferred the implementation of the order to September 1st, 2026. So the manufacturers now have about 10 to 11 months to obtain this certification. If you're able to obtain it, then you'll be able to import your goods into India or export your goods to India and sell them freely. Otherwise, there could be problems. There could be issues when the goods reach the customs. Then deep diving into this particular scheme. Now, under this scheme, the standards are broadly categorized into 3 types: Type A, Type B, and Type C. Type A standards like IS 16819, which is an Indian equivalent of ISO 12100, provide the general principles of design, mainly focusing on risk assessment and risk reduction. And these standards essentially form the foundation for all other safety standards. Then Type B standards are generic safety standards. They focus on specific safety aspects or types of safeguards, things like safety distances, guards, or control systems, which can be applied to many different types of machinery. And finally, the Type C standards, they are machine specific. They lay down detailed safety requirements for a particular machine or a group of similar machines. So in summary, Type A gives the overall principles. Type B provides tools and methods applicable to many machines. And Type C defines the exact safety rules for specific machines. Now, this was the original order, which I was talking about. It was released by the government on 28th of August 2024, and the manufacturers were given a time frame of 1 year to comply with this order. But through the amendment, as I already spoken about, through the amendment that came out in June of 2025, the implementation of the order got deferred to 1st of September. So as you can see, this is just a screenshot of the order. It covers all kinds of machinery. If you follow my cursor, all kinds of machinery and electrical equipment and their assemblies and sub-assemblies and components. This was the amendment order that came out in 12th of June. And you would see in the highlighted section in red, the new deadline for compliance is 1st of September 2026. These are all the categories that have been covered by this particular order called as the Omnibus Technical Regulation. So all kinds of pumps, they are the item 1 in this particular order. All types of pumps are covered, compressors are covered, textile machinery is covered, gearboxes are covered, machinery for working rubber and plastics. Few kinds of textile machinery is also covered, like the weaving and the looming machines, they are covered, and metal cutting tools, and so on and so forth. You have the HSN codes against each category. So if you are sending your goods with these listed HSN codes, then it is highly likely that your machinery would fall under the mandatory BIS requirements. This is another way of representing the categories that are covered by the Scheme 10. The gearboxes, textile, I've already covered, transformers, construction machinery, cranes, machine tools, compressors, pumps, packaging machinery, so on and so forth. Now, coming to the certification process, the first and the foremost step is to understand whether your product falls under BIS or not. And if it does fall under BIS, then what are the applicable standards? So under whether it is Scheme 1 or Scheme 2 or Scheme 10, the first step or the first exercise is to study the product in detail and make an analysis whether the product falls under BIS and what are the applicable standards according to which the certification has to be obtained. Then the next step is the sample testing. It's an optional step. Some of the companies, they prefer to undergo testing before they start the certification process, so that they can be sure that their products are conforming to the standard. So one of our clients who happens to be in the footwear sector, so they asked us to arrange this pre-testing for them so that they can be sure that their products are meeting the requirements of the Indian standards. And they are currently undergoing testing, and once the reports are out and if they are favorable, they would go ahead with the certification. This is an optional step. It's not a mandatory step from the BIS, but it's a precautionary step that a manufacturer can take. Then the step 3 is the identification of the production unit. The certification is meant for both the product as well as the manufacturing facility. So, of course, through the first step, you will be able to establish what all falls under BIS and what does not. But it is also important to note that if you are producing in multiple units and the production is coming to India from multiple units, then all those units will have to be certified. So it's an essential step that establishes the number of applications that a manufacturer is required to file with the BIS. Then once all these things are established, then the manufacturer, through its representative in India, must prepare the application and submit it to the BIS along with the government fees. Then coming to the steps which are there in the procedure, basically that is there in the that is there for the BIS certification. First is, of course, the putting together of the documentation. BIS has a very extensive requirements in terms of the documentation, as you can see on the left side of your screen, and I'll take you through them after I explain the procedure. So first is the putting together of the documentation, and then when it is ready, if you are an Indian manufacturer, you can go online and make an application to the BIS, but this facility is not yet there for the foreign manufacturers. So the foreign manufacturers, through its Indian representative, has to make an application to the BIS in person. And then once the application is registered by the BIS, they would issue you the acknowledgement number or the application number. And BIS then, depending upon number of products involved and the complexity of the certification, takes about 4 to 8 weeks to provide you the initial feedback on your documentation, on the data or the information you have submitted to the BIS. And if BIS comes across any discrepancies, if they have any questions or any doubts pertaining to the information submitted, they would write to the Indian representative as well as the authorized signatory of the manufacturing plant, and would ask you to clarify the doubts or address any discrepancies that may be there within the specified time frame. And once those doubts and discrepancies are addressed to their satisfaction, the BIS handling officer would then move the file to the board, which would then convene a meeting and appoint a BIS auditor for a physical inspection of your facility. Then, at a mutually convenient time, the BIS officer travels to the manufacturing site and makes a very detailed and a thorough audit of the facility, including checking your production line, talking to your quality people about how the products are being manufactured, how the quality is being ensured, and also seeing how you're procuring the raw materials, checking your test equipment, manufacturing machinery. So while he's there, he's going to make a very, very thorough review of the documentation also that you've already submitted to the BIS. So usually the BIS audit spans over 2 to 3 days. And while he's there, if you're falling under scheme 1, while he's there, he's going to seal a couple of samples and send them back to India at a BIS lab for testing. If your products are falling under scheme 10, then he would ask you to conduct the testing in his presence. And once the reports are there, he would return to India and submit them to the BIS. And if the reports are favorable, if they are satisfactory, then the BIS will issue you the license. Post the grant of the license, there are a few formalities that have to be completed by the manufacturer. One is the signing of the agreement between the manufacturer and the BIS. And on behalf of the manufacturer, it's the Indian representative that signs the agreement with the BIS. In person, he goes over to the BIS headquarters and signs the agreement there. Another requirement is of the indemnity bond, which has to be provided by the manufacturer. And last and but not the least, very important requirement is of the performance bank guarantee, which has to be issued by the manufacturer towards the BIS. So this is the whole process, and it from our experience, we can say that it usually takes 6 to 8 months to obtain the certification from the date of filing of the application. Now, coming to the requirements in terms of the documentation, the first requirement is of the business license, clearly business license of the manufacturer, clearly mentioning the address of the manufacturing facility. We have seen with some of our clients that they mention, in their business license, they have their registered office and the corporate office address, which is fine, but the address of the manufacturing facility must also be there. Then the other requirements are of the test equipment and their valid calibration certificates, list of the manufacturing machinery, list of raw materials or components and their test certificates. Now, for all, for these three requirements, BIS has specific formats, which when you are deciding to go on with a certification, those can be shared with you. Then BIS also requires a generic production process flowchart, the in-house reports, the testing that you have conducted over the last few years. Those reports you can share with the BIS. If there are any third-party test reports, those can also be shared with the BIS. Then generic information on the company, like its location on the map and the distance and time from the nearest railway station or an airport. Then companies layout, clearly specifying where is the raw material area, where is the finished good area, where is the production line, where is the office, where is the test equipment, machinery. So all of that clearly being laid out on a piece of paper. Then some drawings of the products and its components. Then you'll also have to nominate a quality inspector from your organization with whom the BIS officer would conduct conversations, would interact with him to understand how the products are being manufactured. And if you have the ISO certificates, those can also be provided. And then there is a requirement which my colleague will talk about in the next few slides, the requirement of an authorized Indian representative. His ID proofs and all his credentials will also be required by the BIS. Yeah, from here, I'll request Vishnu to take over. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Anshul. I think the moral of the last slide is that they want to know everything about your production facility. Nothing comes easy in India as far as certifications are concerned. Anyway, going forward, the last few points on the previous slide were about an authorized Indian representative. Let me explain where this comes from. BIS, in its truly remarkable style, decides that, okay, first of all, foreign manufacturers cannot sell in India without the certification, those who require to get. And secondly, BIS does not want to communicate directly with you outside India, which means that you need to appoint a local point of contact, authorized Indian representative, who shall be the talking head for all the communication that BIS wants to do with your company. Even if in all your documentation you have given the address, the location, the email, even the CV of your quality control person, but nothing doing, you need to have a local Indian person, point of contact. Okay. Also, this is to eliminate any communication barriers, time zone barriers, and so on and so forth, from BIS's point of view. So it's important for you to have a trusted Indian representative who can be called as the AIR for the certification process, right from the time you fill in the application form. And this person would be on the hot seat up to the validity of the license, not up to the time that you are granted the license, but up to the validity of the license. That means that they want to hold accountable a local person in case if things were to go pear-shaped. Okay? So please do remember that you need to have a locally based person, he or she, that will act as your point of representation for the BIS certification process. And I can also go one step further. Both Anshul and I play this role for our existing clients, and we do receive queries or communication such as what dates would BIS officers would like to visit your facility, or if certain test reports are not clear or something like that, by email, occasionally a phone call from the BIS department, which we are expected to immediately inform our client and get a feedback from them and report back to them. So it's like a two-way communication process. So this is the role of the authorized Indian representative. Once again, this cannot be bypassed. Your application form will be rendered incomplete if you do not provide these details. Okay, next slide, please. What are the consequences of non-compliance? Now, I think I've mentioned twice now that you can't bypass, but if you try to bypass and you God forbid, if you get caught, there are fiscal penalties up to INR, or let's say US dollars excess of 5,000. I know it doesn't sound like too much, but customs can block your product and blacklist your company from further deliveries to India. So besides the financial penalty, which may not be earth-shattering, there is also an imprisonment of the All India representative, mainly, for a period of 2 years. And customs will be notified that your products cannot be imported into India. So using the electronic data interchange, they will keep an eye all across India at all custom points that products coming from this company into India shall not be permitted. And then BIS can also notify through their own means to the general public, to the open market, that your products are not certified, and it may also lead to revocation or cancellation of other kinds of licenses that you have. So they can flex their muscles if they find you as an offender. So it's in your best interest to be certified and play the game the right way. Okay, the next one. Now, we have been in this practice for more than 2 years now. And I can tell you, this is probably our 11th or 12th webinar in as many months. I can tell you that the common challenges which our clients or prospective clients face and what could be useful tips or best practices. Firstly, understanding the regulations. For English-speaking countries, probably this is not the biggest challenge, but even then, pinpointing which Indian standard is applicable in your product is the very first challenge. If you're following the wrong standard, obviously you are probably going to get confused because this does not happen in your country. You're not required to have that kind of testing facility and so on. So firstly, understanding the right regulations by picking up the right document. Then preparing the documentation. Anshul showed you a long list of documentation that has to be prepared without any error. The moment there are errors, it will start the process of delay in certification, because BIS will not admit your application unless it's prepared without any error. It's a foolproof application. The other challenge is the high waiting period and the high costs. For foreign certifications, BIS directly sends an invoice of roughly $5,000, which includes the traveling and per day costs of one BIS officer for 2 to 3 days for inspection of your facility. Besides this, you have marking fee, you have stamp fee, and a performance guarantee of about US $10,000. The performance guarantee doesn't have to be paid. It's a bank guarantee that in case something goes wrong after certification, BIS can revoke that bank guarantee. The waiting times we've already mentioned, 6 to 8 months is you'd be lucky, but I would say budget for something between 8 to 9 months from start to finish. Another question that we are often asked is, I am a trader, I'm not manufacturer. Can I obtain the certification? No. It's the actual eventual manufacturer that has to apply for the certification. So your role is not there for the certification. It's your supplier who's actually manufacturing the product who will be required to get certified. That's why the emphasis on when you fill up the application for the site at which the products are manufactured, the factory location or the production location. Then there could be communication difficulties, especially when the BIS person visits. There could be language barriers and sometimes English to English barriers, but we have solutions for that when we come to it. So what could be some useful tips or best practices to overcome some of these challenges? Firstly, work with consultants, experts. I know I'm selling myself, but this is the surest form for a foreign manufacturer not to fall into any kind of unforeseen trap, and make sure that you are relying on the advice of experts who have been there and done that before. Second one, which is totally in your hands, is prepare accurate documentation. The consultant can only tell you yes or no, but they cannot prepare the documentation on your behalf. Create a detailed project plan, because often once the documentation is prepared, the week later, we start getting questions, okay, where is my license now? So you should have some sort of a project plan which covers various steps, and the consultants like us will help you to create that and then follow that periodically. Train your staff on the Indian standard that they have to follow. We've seen a variety of different answers ranging from, oh yes, after reading the Indian standard, our clients have said, yes, this is easy. We are already doing this to meet European or American standards. So this is easy, no problem. That is on one extreme. The other one is, my God, we cannot, for us to even read and understand the standard, we need a consultant. So and others are somewhere in between. So you need to have that copy of the standard which is relevant to your product and train your quality control or production people that in order to get the license from India, this is how we need to conduct ourselves. If you're already certified under ISO or any other QS certification system, it's great. If not, I would suggest that you expedite your efforts to get those certifications done. When the date of audit is announced, please be ready and don't take it casually. The BIS person has the full right to go in the minutest of detail, or maybe be convinced with your preparation and say, okay, I will probably skip a few steps because I know that you are already up there in your production and quality standards. And then the renewal. We'll talk about the renewal probably at a later date, because at this webinar is dedicated to achieving the certification. Renewal comes later. So by following certain very simple logical steps, you can overcome some of the basic challenges. Every case is unique. Every product, every company is unique. And therefore, these are just the general challenges that we have come across, we have seen our clients face, and some of the general tips that we can suggest. But when we work with you one-on-one, we deep dive into your queries, your doubts, your concerns, and we provide you solutions as best as we can to all of these. Next slide, please. We talked about these logos. Some of these sample images are here. On the right side, you see a famous brand, which is a toy manufacturer. Everyone knows that. And they are registered under ISI certification scheme 1 that we talked about. And as you can see, the manufacturer is also not in India. So they have probably applied under the FMCS and got that certification. On the left-hand side, it's a little hazy, but you can see under the red circle, the figure 8, which applies for the electronics and IT products. I think this is taken from a laptop, which we are using in our office. And this is also certified. Now, the reason why these two companies are able to put this on their products is because they have the certification. And now, on the basis of this, nobody will stop their import. No authority, whether it's custom or any other, can stop their import because they have this along with the certificate number and the standard number. And they can sell to any person in India without any hesitation. So this is the peace of mind or the credibility that I talked about in one of my earlier slides. Next one, please. I talked about that we are working with many clients. Just a brief glimpse. I won't dwell too much on this. At this moment, we have over a dozen projects that are either completed, which means that we have the certificate in our hands on behalf of our clients, or we are midway through the certification process. Like I said, that BIS woke up some 2 or 3 years ago. We got ready 2 years back. We built a team and all that. And now we are midway during many of the certification projects. Before the certification, as Anshul mentioned, it's important to understand whether your product comes under BIS or not. If yes, what type of scheme and which type of Indian standard, which industry. We have over 70 ongoing or completed investigation reports that we are working on for our clients. And this is the very first step that you need. Before you, let's say, get admitted in a hospital, you must do a diagnostic. This is the diagnostic. We have a full-fledged team of BIS capable staff, and through which we deliver these reports and the certification steps for our clients. And like I said, we've done, we are either speakers or hosted webinars in double digits now, virtually one every month since last year, October or November. So that's a sample of who we are as far as the BIS practice is concerned. Now let's wind up since we are close to the finishing time and we leave the door open for questions. What are the next steps for you as a willing company that wants to get BIS certified for continuous sales in India? The first step is, of course, contact Portfolio Octagona. We will have the contact details in the next slide and probably share the presentation with you later to understand whether BIS is applicable. The investigation that I talked about, wherein you will be required to share every possible detail. We don't mind going into a non-disclosure agreement if you want total confidentiality. But you will have to share all the possible details for us to come back and give you. Occasionally, clients have just shared with us the HS code, which you saw on one of the previous slides as a screenshot. But HS code, let me tell you, is one of the pointers for determining whether your product come under BIS, but it's not the only one. HS codes can tell us BIS yes or no, but it cannot tell us clearly which Indian standard, which scheme, and so on. So we do need more details from you rather than just the HS code or just a reference of your website. If BIS is found to be applicable, we switch to the next level, which is the certification steps, right from helping you generate all the right documentation and then applying and getting an application reference number. We are with you up to the closure of the grant of the license. We can also be your All India representative, although it's an option with you if you know somebody else who can play the same role, no problem at all. But we will act as your advisor, your guide. We will also talk to BIS to expedite, if it's possible, the waiting period and reduce the waiting period. So we will be there from step 1 till the grant of license is what I'm trying to say. So this is step 3 as well as 4. There are a lot of technical and bureaucratic hassles, which we will help you maneuver as we go along. So we are partners in crime as far as our support is concerned. Finally, the team both in US and in India, I mean, we have more people, but of course, for now, if you're a US-based organization, you need to reach out to Federico or another colleague, Claudia, to express your interest in working with us for BIS investigation, and perhaps followed by that for the registration certification itself. And then on the India side, Anshul leads our BIS practice, but I'm always there somewhere in the background. You can reach out to us at future. If you're not a US company, you may reach out to us directly, and we'll provide you the same service from our side. So that's all for today. This was the last slide. We thank you for your patient listening. And now we open the door. You may type your questions in the text box, and we will take on as many as time will permit. If there are certain questions which require us to carry out a research, we will come back to you at a later date, but we will make sure that you do get the right answer within a short span of time. Okay. We'll give you some time to type in your questions. I see there are a few open questions. Maybe we can take one or two ourselves, Anshul. I'm just reading out the question that I see on the top. Are there any BIS accredited or approved laboratories outside India as of today?
No, the answer is no. All the BIS approved laboratories are currently in India. There is an option for the foreign companies to make a request to BIS to set up a lab in the foreign countries, but the procedure is very, very tough. So right now, there are no labs that we can say they're outside India.
Okay. Sorry about that to the person who asked that question. Unfortunately, you will have to get yourself tested at an Indian laboratory, at least for now. The next question that I see is, if a quality control order comes into effect, but I already have some stock in India. Good question. We have been asked this before. Can I sell it without any issues? It has already been imported into India.
Yes. If you have a stock and you have a order in place, order already implemented, you can sell that stock without any problems if that stock has arrived in India before the implementation of the order.
Okay. All right. Moving on. This question comes from Mr. Sanapriya. Forgive my pronunciation. Hello, thanks for all the information today. My company, based in Chicago, is an OEM, and we make industrial metal cutting machines, both standardized and custom. This is where the license and certificate of conformity comes into picture. When we have machines go to European markets, we get our machine tested in US for CE, EMC, safety, etc. When we have machines go to Canada, we follow the similar testing in US, because probably both the countries have the same standards, and obtain a conformity sticker on our machine just before the machine leaves for Canada. Just to be clear, do we need to obtain a certificate for our entire company, or do we obtain a certificate of conformity for the machine itself before it goes to India? Very good question.
Yeah. So the answer is, as I already kind of addressed this question during my presentation, that the certification is for both the product as well as for the manufacturing facility. So, so the product will of course get tested either in your in-house lab or at an Indian lab. But while the BIS officer is there, in your facility is going to make a very thorough and detailed check of your production line, your test equipment, manufacturing machinery, your quality processes. So the certification essentially is for both the product as well as the manufacturing facility.
Okay.
I must also add that in the license document, your manufacturing facilities details will be there along with the product details. So if you have multiple production sites, then those will also have to undergo the audit.
Just to be clear on the last point, Anshul, if as a manufacturer, if I have multiple production sites, but all of them are not involved in sending products to India, do I still have to get them BIS audited, or only the ones that are involved in production to India?
Only the ones that are involved in the production that is meant for India.
Okay, makes sense. Okay, I believe we have answered all the questions. We'll probably just keep the door open for a minute or two. In the meantime, maybe if Kunal, you could give us an idea of how many certifications or how many countries have been certified so far from the BIS portal, if you have that information, just so that we don't become dead silent.
So as per the current data, the 400 plus certification license has been granted now. Yeah.
Okay. All right. More than 400. Excellent. We have another question from Miss Lafay. We are a manufacturer of complete industrial machines for textile recycling, including electrical cabinets. The customs HS code for our machine is 844519. Which scheme do our machines fall under? Are electrical cabinets included in the same scheme? Over to you, Anshul.
This will have to be checked, but I suspect that these kind of machines would fall under Scheme 10. But of course, a thorough check will have to be conducted. We will also need the technical specifications of these machines. But from the HSN code and from the description, I could say that it is very likely that these may fall under Scheme 10, the newest scheme to join the list of schemes in BIS.
The one which has the deadline of 1st September 2026?
Yes, that's right.
Okay. All right. So we are happy to check further, sir. If you can share with us by email more information to any of the email IDs that you remember. Otherwise, we will reach out to you and ask you again. Rather than giving a quick but probably an inaccurate answer, we prefer to go deeper, and for which we will need more information. I agree with Anshul that prima facie, it does look like that your product will come under Scheme X, and you will have to get certified in the next 11 months or so, maybe 10 months or so, before 1st of September 2026.
There is another question, I guess, regarding the renewal.
I can't see.
Okay, it's already been answered, I guess, by Kunal.
Maybe we can just go through if there is. Yeah, okay. For the benefit of other members of the audience, one of the questions that was asked was, what is the validity period of the BIS license? And Anshul, do you want to explain the answer?
Yeah, the validity of the BIS license under Scheme 1 is 1 year. Under Scheme 2, also known as the Compulsory Registration Scheme, CRS, is 2 years. And the validity of a new license under Scheme 10 is 3 to 6 years.
I have a follow-up question on behalf of the audience.
Okay.
Let's say I get the license under Scheme 1 for 1 year. 12 months have passed. Do I have to go through the whole 9 yards once again, or is there a relief for me?
Okay, so you can again reach out to BIS 2 months before the expiry of the license if you would like to renew your license. And if you've not made any changes to your, let's say, the product or your production line, then you would get your license renewed without the audit. But if you have made any changes to your production line, if you have changed any components, the composition of the product, then you will have to notify it to the BIS the changes that you have made over the course of 1 year, and then it is up to the BIS whether to conduct an audit or not. If they
Okay.
feel that the audit is required, they would again send somebody and he would then again make a very thorough audit of the facility. But if they feel that the changes made are very, I mean, in terms of the magnitude are not very big, then they may also choose to skip the audit and directly grant you the license. I mean, renew the license.
Okay. Thank you, Anshul. Last and not the least, does the license renewal process include, I think you partially already answered that.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So generally no, but depends on the changes that you have made to your product and the perceived risk of these changes on the performance of the product and so on. So yeah. So I always say, let's get the certification first and worry about the renewal later, because the clear and present danger is the certification itself and not the renewal. We have a lot of time to worry about renewal once we are certified. I don't see more questions coming, which means that it's time to possibly close this session. We are happy to stay engaged with all of you. You've seen our contact details. We'll be sending a copy of this presentation very soon. And I only say, let's keep the communication going. One webinar is usually not enough to satisfy all the questions that come up during or after. So let's stay in contact, and we'll be more than happy to work with you both in US and in India. So on that note, I would like to firstly thank all the attendees for your time and your patience. We know that depending on where you are in the world, it's a working day and everyone has a lot of fish to fry. But also at the same time, thank all the panelists for giving your valuable time, again, from early morning to late evening across the world for this enlightening session. And look forward to staying in touch with you and helping you get a certificate sometime in the near future. Thanks again.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.